And on this week's episode of the Torture David polls, I gave you the fluffy omelet, the beef and broccoli rice triangles, the giant ramen bowl, and the jalapeno taco poppers. What's most likely to give me nightmares? The giant ramen, of course. This one actually won by a landslide. It was not even close. This is probably the widest margin of victory we have seen, and judging by the video, it doesn't take a lot of thinking to understand why. This has 4 main components. It's gonna take me hours, probably all day, so let's just get right into it. So guys, like I said, this one has 4 major components. Number 1, the ramen noodles. Number 2, the shoyu broth. Number 3, the Japanese fried chicken. And number 4, a whole boatload of bean sprouts. And naturally, because the chicken is going to take me the longest, let's begin with that. I grabbed some sake, some soy sauce, and sesame oil, the grocery store's entire boneless chicken thigh section, some sugar and fresh garlic, and of course, some fresh ginger root. And I'm gonna start with that. So I grabbed about half of my ginger and kind of gave it a rough chop. This doesn't really need to be perfect or look very good. It just has to be cut up so it can go in the marinade, just to give our chicken some nice flavor. I also grabbed about 5 cloves of garlic. If you're curious, I'm using this recipe from this website, which I will link down in the description, for the fried chicken. In a large bowl, I combined my fresh ginger and garlic with a ton of soy sauce. I'm using 10 tablespoons, about 5 tablespoons of my sake. And as I say that word for the second time, I can already feel the comments pouring in about my pronunciation. You're supposed to say sake or sake, or I don't care. Unless you want me to sock you in the head, don't leave me comments. Dad jokes for days. I also added the sugar and about a tablespoon of my sesame oil. Mix it all together until that sugar is dissolved, and then pile in your chicken. I didn't get an exact measurement. This is 16 chicken thighs in total. I loaded those all in, tossed them evenly in the sauce, and covered it up and left it in the fridge for an hour to absorb all those flavors. In the meantime, I began to work on my broth, and this is a little strange, I will admit. I combined a half cup of normal soy sauce with a half cup of low sodium soy sauce, and then added more salt. I don't really understand this, but I allowed it to come to a boil and then dumped in 2 cartons or 1.6 kilograms of chicken stock. I'm gonna let this just simmer away as I'm finishing up everything else, so I just popped a lid on that and left it off to the side. And now back to our chicken. I dumped in about 1.5 cups to 2 cups of potato starch. Tried to give my chicken a thorough coating in this. And that's pretty much all you have to do before you just pop them in your hot oil. I had my oil at about 350 degrees. I left them in for about 8 minutes, give or take, depending on how big they were. I let them get nice and brown, nice and crispy, and these are looking pretty good. I am concerned that some of the bigger pieces don't really have much coating on the outside at all, but the taste should be there, so I'm not too worried. And now for the final 2 components, our bean sprouts and ramen noodles. I couldn't find any fresh ramen pasta in the store, so I grabbed this soy sauce flavored top ramen. I'm sure every college kid in America is very familiar with this. So I popped open 3 bags of that and left off the little gross seasoning packet. Drop those in my boiling water, allow them to cook for just a couple minutes. I am gonna leave these slightly undercooked because it'll be a little bit before I combine all my soup together. I don't want them to be too mushy. And now that I have that cooked and strained, my very last thing is the bean sprouts. I grabbed 4 bags. I pretty much bought out all the bean sprouts I could find in my store, and I blanched these in boiling hot salted water for about 2 minutes. Afterwards, I used my pasta strainer to remove all of my bean sprouts. This thing has come in handy many times this week so far. And now that we have our fried chicken, our ramen noodles, our bean sprouts, and our broth done, I think it's time to throw this all together. So it has been many hours of preparing each individual ingredient, and I figured it would be fun to bring them all down here and try to throw them all together at once. So first, the broth. It's also very hot. It's about 93 degrees in New York right now. I don't really feel like eating soup, but gotta do it. I'm gonna try my very hardest to not splatter this on myself. This all smells so amazing, by the way. It smells like the best ramen restaurant. Oh boy, please don't splash all over me. Jesus. Okay. And now for the beans. You know, for those of you who may not know, I'm kind of allergic to beans. Like, I'm not supposed to eat any type of pinto or black beans or anything. And I've never had these, so I guess we're about to find out if we're allergic to these also. Apparently, it needs to be a bean sprout mountain. So, that is what I'm doing, ladies and gents. I think this was... how many pounds of beans was this? I don't even remember. And last, and probably most importantly, the chicken. I've been dying to sneak a taste of this because it smells amazing. It smells so good, like the ginger and garlic. I did not use nearly as much chicken as they did. And I think that means that my bowl is probably a little bit smaller, but who cares? And I think with that, we are done. What have I just created? How does it look from this camera angle? Camera angle 2. You guys getting it? Looks pretty good. First and foremost, this chicken, because my whole house smells like it. My whole street probably smells like it. Oh man. Besides that big chunk of fat I just bit into, this tastes really good. It's such a big difference when you're using chicken thighs for fried chicken rather than breasts or anything else, because it's just so much darker and like juicier. I didn't really think this through as to how I was gonna eat this. I'm just gonna try each component. There's just so many bean sprouts. I've never had bean sprouts before, and I never want to see them again after this. Those just kind of taste like dirt. Not the biggest fan of bean sprouts, apparently. Alright, we gotta get to this pasta underneath. Come on now. Ramen's just so good. No matter how you make it, it's just so good. And only because in the video they used straws for broth, I will do the same. Oh wow. I thought this was gonna be way too salty. It pretty much just tastes like hot chicken broth with like bean sprout flavoring. Mainly because that's what it is with some soy sauce. I want to taste some of this though, because I feel like, I don't know. Slightly hotter. Yeah. The flavor of that is 100 times better. I'm assuming because all the bean sprouts absorbed all the salt like it did in their video. Wow, that's a big difference. Obviously where they got this original idea from, it's more like a touristy novelty type thing. If this was about a quarter of the size and minus the bean sprouts and minus 80% of the chicken, I could eat this as a meal easily. This is really good. Would I suggest any of you spend $60 to make a giant bowl of ramen for yourself? Probably not, but it was fun. It tasted good and in your face to everyone on Instagram who thought I'd fail this. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, slap a big like on this one. Go over and follow me on Instagram. It's right here, David_Seymour1. Doing these polls every single week, so go over there and be a part of them. Follow me on Twitter as well. Other than that, have an awesome weekend, and I'll see you right back here next time. Peace!